Good morning. I'm Karen Stepper, Mayor of Danville. I'm honored to be here and talk to you about some of the things that are going on downtown and in our community. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll give you some other connections, excuse me, later in the show, how you can see things and hear things better and watch at another time if you need to. I'm joined today by some of our staff members who are covering particular areas. The first one will be Dave Castile, who's our Director of Maintenance Services and the lead for the Downtown Master Plan Catalyst project. He's going to address all those things that are going on that you're seeing down Harts. The next person will be our Jen Starnes, our Manager of Communications and Economic Development, and she's going to be joined with Cat Bravo, who's going to be using her iPad and amazing skills to show us what a new Danville Prospector can do in Danville. And finally, our Police Chief, Alan Shields, always joins us on these shows, and he's going to talk about the thing that's on everyone's mind and questions right now on e-biking, and e-scooters. Thank you very much anyway for joining us. We will receive some questions during the show, and then we'll come and ask if there are any that we need to add. You can submit them during the... But right now, we're just very pleased to start with the Hearts Project. I know if some of you have subscribed to the series, many of you are downtown. I'm downtown a great deal. You can pass council members every morning down there and interrupt them, so please feel free to do so. But here we've got the expert. We've got Dave Castile. So now I'd like you to meet him. He's our Director of Maintenance and the lead for the Downtown Master Plan. We call it our Catalyst Project because it's not the only one. This is going over many years, but this is the one that's happening this year, making an enormous difference, we hope, to the economy of downtown. All right, well, welcome, Dave.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Great to be with you this morning.
Yeah. Well, I've been downtown, Harts lately, and near church and school, and I'm seeing a lot of projects going on. So we know that we want our public to know that we've already gone to bid, what is the timeline that's going to happen, and maybe you'd like to give them, first of all, an overview. But I think that the things that you're going to talk about are things that hopefully they are seeing. And if they're not, we're urging them to come downtown because they're going to be able to get downtown easily. There's no blockage of the streets. And let's start with you, Dave. Give us a little overview of what's going on Harts and what the timeline is for the project.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, and you're absolutely right. Downtown is open for business and will remain that way. That's one of our main priorities here. So looking at the project overall, the general scope is from the south end at School Street up to the north end at Linda Mesa by Pete's Brass Rail. And the focus of this project really is on enhancing the downtown, creating some gathering spaces, and really adding to the connectability of the downtown. We really wanted to emphasize pedestrian access while prioritizing safety to the downtown. So we'll be working at the various intersections from school up to Linda Mesa, and then also working on some community gathering spaces at the Prospect Plaza, which is near Starbucks on Harts and Prospect, as well as the Village Theater. So some very exciting things coming our way here.
Well, we appreciate the fact that the parking lots are also staying open, so it's no problem parking and coming down and shopping. So we can't say that enough times because the stores are depending on it, and the people that are working on this project are working so hard to make it one project at a time. Some people are describing it as one corner at a time, one intersection at a time. That's a little simplification. However, it is, in fact, what we have gotten a commitment from the contractor to work with on this. So nobody's seen a project of this size go this fast in Danville. So, Dave, you're amazing to be in charge of this project. And maybe you can tell them a little more about what the timeline is.
Sure thing. And first off, really kudos to our engineering and CIP team because the prioritizing, keeping the downtown open and really minimizing the impacts to our downtown businesses as well as our customers and those that want to visit Danville has always been the priority. And they really put a lot of time and effort and resources into finding ways to minimize any impact or even know that construction is going on. If you're on the north end of town, you may not even realize construction's happening. So yes, we are generally working an intersection at a time with some caveats to that, but for the most part, again, to really minimize the impact overall throughout the downtown. downtown. So right now we're working in the School and Church Street areas. The overall timeline, we started earlier this month. And we're making great progress. School and church have come along nicely. If anybody's been down there, I'm sure you can see that. Many of the curb bulb outs are completed.
Maybe we can switch to a picture while you're talking
sure,
about that.
Sure, that'd be great.
Because, well, this one's in front of the FOSS project. It's 600 Hearts.
Yeah, so there's School Street there. And so, yeah, that's a great example of some of what we're doing. You know, we're doing the curb bulb outs at these intersections, which really enhance visibility of pedestrians at crosswalks, slow down traffic, and create shorter pathways for folks to cross streets. So again, really trying to create a very safe place for people to visit and enjoy themselves in our downtown is the priority. So that's one great example of what we're doing at the curb bulb outs. Mm-hmm. And to your initial question about timeline, yes. We are, like I said, moving along very nicely. And our expected completion is late fall this year. So like you said, a pretty quick project for given the scope of what it is. And that also includes kind of pausing as we approach the 4th of July to make sure that the downtown is in perfect condition for our annual parade.
All right, so that's the annual parade on Hearts. It's not being moved. It's in the place where you all expect it. You're already decorating your cars, and in fact, if you haven't yet, you can submit your entry to the parade. So that is going to be in place on time, and your families are going to be in town, and we just want 30,000 people. That's all.
That's all.
That's all. I think you had a good one up there a minute ago. Maybe we have another intersection you can comment on about some of the things that you're seeing here. I know there's Guillermo in that one, and he's downtown a lot. So if they see you, Dave, or they say Guillermo, they can ask questions, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we love that. We've had a lot of interaction with the public and our business owners, and it's been great. And yeah, that was Guillermo and Alejandro, who you can see downtown almost all day, any day, working on the project, and that was at the corner of Church, where things have come along really well. It looks really nice. The curb ramps are open again that were done, and that's things are going according to plan there.
Okay, so what's going to fill in all those holes and the gaps in the holes? So if we go back one more time to that screen with the intersection. Dave's going to talk about where the brick banding might go.
Yeah, great question, and thank you, Madam Mayor. So the intersections, the corners that have been done, in addition to noticing some fresh, new, great-looking concrete, yes. You will notice there are some open areas or some areas that have some plywood to create a safe access point. Those areas will be brick banding, similar to the brick banding you see up and down our downtown, to really help beautify the area and the corners. And what we're doing with that is once we wrap up the corners on School and Church as well as Diablo, then the contractor will have their brick person come in and cut and form all the bricks for all three of those intersections and go through one by one and fill all those in. So it'll really have that great finished look, which we're getting close to for those three intersections. So very exciting.
And it's beyond a look. It's going to be a very flat surface so that, most people when we're downtown, try Friday afternoon and see how many people are down Hearts. You'll be absolutely amazed. Not you, but the general public. And they're not crossing by themselves. They're walking with friends. They got 3 friends, 5 friends, whatever. And that's why it was really important to make these bulb outs a larger area for people to gather to cross the street more safely. Any other comments on those?
The only other thing I would add is in addition to the bulb outs, part of the project towards the end is we'll also be repaving all of Hearts Avenue, and all these intersections will be completely redone, stamped with like a brick look to them and enhancing the visibility of the crosswalks. So not only will it be beautiful, but like you said, it'll be a flat, safe walking surface that really draws the attention of folks going by. And another priority of this project is adding and relocating street lighting downtown to really add lighting and visibility to each of these intersections. Again, prioritizing the safety there.
And if I were going to paraphrase what I hear from the businesses downtown, they want more lighting because, of course, this is nothing new. I've been on the council over 20 years, and I've always heard this, but it is needed because we want to have more people down at nighttime, and we want the stores to be more open. And so later we're going to talk about what are some of the events that are making that valuable for people to be downtown. And if you're going to walk down the sidewalks, you want to make sure you can see the concrete and you can see that this project, where you have a smaller distance to cross the street, definitely will be a safety improvement for the walkers. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go to talk about the bulb outs. The other question that I had for you about AB 413. this was another state law. We get passed one and given Cat Bravo tracks them all. We get a new one, it seems like, every week in our box. So what was this one?
Yeah, absolutely. The state law requiring 20 feet of no parking around crosswalk areas, again, to increase visibility of folks crossing the street for drivers coming up. So as usual, the town's transportation division was all over this well before it was even passed. And we've actually already made a lot of accommodations in this regard, but these bulb outs, they really serve multiple purposes. So in addition to shortening the distance for pedestrians crossing the street, enhancing visibility, giving some more gathering space, they're really going in places where parking wasn't going to be allowed anymore anyways due to this law, so within the 20 feet of these intersections. So rather than just putting in red curb and not allowing parking there, we're enhancing these corners, making them safer and making them more desirable to be at. So I think it's a great way to take advantage of that space that, that this law directly impacts.
Excellent, because that does make those gathering spaces that we're going to see. We're not actually having it at Starbucks. It's just in front of it. It's going to be called the
Prospect Plaza?
Yes, we want to get used to calling it the Prospect Plaza because it's always been Danville's property and park, and it's always been shared with them because so many people use it. So what else will be at those places where we have those? There's another stage over between the meeting hall and the VTAG, as we call it, the Village Theater. Yeah.
Again, creating or enhancing community gathering space was another real priority of this project. So at the Prospect Plaza and in between the Village Theater and Town Meeting Hall, yes, there will be stages added to both, some more lighting. So at the Prospect Plaza, there'll be some decorative landscape lighting and some uplighting, some really neat decorative artwork that will really help enhance that area and encourage more gathering and great times in downtown Danville. And then in between the Village Theater and Town Meeting Hall, there's a little drive aisle there that can be closed for events and whatnot, still open otherwise. But some string lighting will be added over that area to really enhance the ambiance there, in addition to some more artwork and landscaping. So it's really going to have a whole new look and add a lot more of purpose to that area than just a drive aisle, which is going to be really neat.
Dave's going to be back again because, yes, some of this is in the future, and I wanted him particularly to cover what's going on in the intersections because that's what people are seeing right now, and it might, affects how they cross the street. There are a couple intersections that are going to be raised. Can you explain what that means? Yeah,
absolutely. The intersections at Prospect Avenue and Linda Mesa, two of the busier intersections in town, will be raised, so they'll be about 6 inches higher than the pavement throughout the whole intersection. And so what this does, it almost serves the purpose of a speed hump without being quite as disruptive as a speed hump if you're driving. But it does draw visual attention. It does slow traffic down, and again, makes those intersections a lot safer for the folks that are trying to cross the street there. In addition to adding a beautiful look with the stamped pavement there.
Stamped pavement, and yes, and all things will come later, in terms of landscaping, etc. And actually, in the far future, down Front Street, other changes in that whole area. So it's a big part of our economic development. And I don't think I can hold this up. Can I hold this up? Yeah. Okay, you got one of these. You go down there to the Theater Plaza, or you go right now to the Prospect Plaza. You'll see this in full size where you can actually read it and stop and look at all the things that are going on, and gives them a picture. So if they haven't seen it, and some of them they can pick up there too, by the way, in Starbucks, but these are the ones that they can just stand there and look at a very large view of what we're doing and explain it to their friends, and because we want them downtown all the time. So let's talk about the dates that are coming up with respect to our events and what's happening to our events, because this is a big commitment by our businesses. We want to thank them for being our partners here and making this able to happen so that it can happen mostly before the holidays. We hope it's all before the holiday shopping period. But what are a couple events that are coming between now and then?
Yeah, the one coming up real quickly here is the Sip and Stroll event, which I believe is Thursday, May 9th, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And you're absolutely right. We've worked really closely with our businesses and the Chamber of Commerce to try to, again, I keep saying this, but to really minimize the impact on those businesses. So part of that is reflected in working intersection by intersection at a time, so that it's really localized to just one area. And then part of that is, again, part of our small town atmosphere, if you will. We know that, for instance, Primo's is part of that event, the Sip and Stroll event. The construction schedule did call for work to be going on at that corner that week. Instead, we've modified the schedule to avoid that corner until after that week to make sure that it's undisturbed so that event can go on as planned, and Primo's, who plans to participate in it, won't be as directly impacted by it. So those are the types of changes and things that we're doing to try to work with our businesses to really make this as smooth of a process as possible as we go.
And I wish we had more time to talk, because I bet you've heard all kinds of comments from people as they cross and see all the construction, and a lot of questions. But you've done a great job answering those right now. I will comment the museum is always having its hops and shops and hops, I can't even say it right, their stroll on the 23rd. So, and the big one that people always ask about is the Sunday car show, which is going to be on September 15th, and that's changing things a little bit.
Yes, I know that the Jen and Economic Development team are working closely with those event organizers, so I think details may be to be determined and to come on that. But again, all these events are being worked with closely to really make sure that we still have the best events possible, even though we have this large-scale project going on in the core of our downtown. Okay, well, that's September 15th. And a lot of people are already getting ready to plan their vacations around those car shows, because, you know, they're just going to be on a different street. It's going to be on, and that's the part we'll describe later, but it'll involve Front Street. Unlike the parade, which will be right down Harts. Make sure you're getting registered for the parade. And Dave, thanks for all that detail, because you can't get that from a picture. And now when they see you downtown, they're going to stop and ask. So thank you for being so clear. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And then we're going to move to our next speaker in a moment. We have something special going on in town, and again, we hope it's going to help economic development and people coming into town to start new businesses or to expand businesses. But it's a software program, and you have to have somebody to run these programs to understand what the advantages are. So you're going to enjoy hearing about the Danville Prospector, prospecting for new business, and the Danville Pioneer. That one we're not going to discuss today. That's more of one for people looking at for homes or looking for schools in our area. What we're going to concentrate again is on the economic area of our downtown. And so we're going to start with Jen Starnes, and she is our economic director. So thank you, Jen, and for getting this all set up and starting with what you'd like to explain first.
Yeah, thank you for having us here, Mayor. I really am excited to talk about the Prospector and have Kat walk us through it, because this is part of a suite of new tools we're offering businesses. And just before we get started, I just wanted to mention a couple of things that are coming up. We have a couple of new initiatives. We're going to be launching an email newsletter to the businesses. And we also have some new promotional opportunities that we'll be launching later in the summer. So I just want to encourage all the business owners out there that are listening and watching to visit danville.ca.gov/business-focus and sign up for our email newsletter, or you can always send an email to business@danville.ca.gov. Or, of course, all of these links will be available at the Danville Town Talk /Mayor link at the end of the show. Okay. So with that, I just want to... That was the simple answer. That's the simple answer. They go to the Danville Town Talks, they can find 9, probably more now, specific pages of things that are happening downtown that people are asking about. Then you put up a new page and tell them all about it. Absolutely. DanvilleTownTalks.org is our main project page. So not only does it house the information about this show, it houses information about the housing element, about the downtown master plan that Dave just was talking about, and about some other key projects that are coming up. So that is the one URL that anybody needs to know to find out about all the upcoming projects. Okay. Well, thank you. You're welcome. And so now Cat. And now Cat Bravo is our manager analyst for the town.
I can't think of anyone I work with more and excited to work with. She's so good at these things. So she also handles all the legislation, which came up in our last discussion with the streets. And this one is one where it's you work with the planning and development to make sure that people have the opportunities to know all about Danville. And if they're not starting a new business, they should go on the site and find out all about the things that you can find out, whether it's from culture or types of business, how people spend their money, where it is. We're going to talk about those right now. So,
Yes.
Kat, welcome for being the person who's going to drive us through this.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be able to demo this platform that we have launched. It's danvilleprospector.org, and this is for our business community. The main feature of this website is that prospective businesses or even current businesses that are looking to expand their shop or maybe even downsize, that they're able to access available tenant spaces within our incorporated town boundaries. So when you access this site, and hopefully...
And this one does have a shorter name. We could just go danvilleprospector.com.
Yes, so we have a
Very
direct link,
simple.
danvilleprospector.org.
.org. Okay,
Yes.
so I said it incorrectly. All right, I apologize.
Although if you did type .com in, it would redirect you to the correct website.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, we made sure to cover all of our bases.
I love it.
Okay, so it looks like my laptop is having some issues, so we'll...
Okay, well, wow, that's the part. This is a software program that has a lot of programs involved in it. It's not one thing. Some of the information comes from realtors, and some comes from other places that can fill in culture and the demographics of a town. And Kat's going to give you much more detail, and we're going to go through some examples here.
Yes,
So.
I will do my best with my pre-made PowerPoint presentation. So when you enter this site, you'll see a list of available properties. And again, this is outsourced data that we gather. And so we try to have the most up-to-date information and the most concise information. So right now you'll see we have 30 properties available within our incorporated boundaries. Sorry. Okay. That's okay. Okay.
So Kat and I were working with this yesterday and just picking a couple example properties so that you could get the feel for what you can find, because there's an amazing amount of detail as you drill down through this software.
Yeah, so as you can see, we have our 30 properties. You can scroll down and just do a general search if anything looks appealing to you. Let's say you're a prospective business and there's a specific size space that you're looking for. So you can filter your search. We're going to go for lease spaces, and we'll just set a 2,000 to 3,000 square foot parameter for what we're looking for. And so that will narrow it down. You can click view details to get any additional details that were available regarding the site. So you'll see you have description, property details, available spaces, details about the specific available spaces within the property, site details, and then who you would want to contact for the listing. In some cases, there are additional documentations that are also available. So you can click on the documents thing and you can pull up a flyer. And this will give you, again, more details from the listing agent regarding the space.
So I just want to comment, that's only one source is the listing agents, because there's other places, what do you call, simplify, that they're able to incorporate other different kinds of websites into this process.
Yeah, so the way that it works on the back end is that we use Resimplify. That's the vendor that sources all the real estate information for us, and they scrub the internet for any listings. They have specific sites that they go to for brokers and listing agents and property management companies to get this information. There are others where we don't have access to their information, and so we try to make those direct connections so that they can work with those individuals directly on getting updated listing information.
Because some of them are every couple days updated. So this is not something that's just sitting on the shelf.
Yes.
So.
And of course, if there is any real estate professional that has a listing that they don't see on here, or they have an update to one, more than welcome to contact me and we can get those updates made. So let's say somebody is interested in comparing two different sites to each other. They find two appealing. You can select to compare to. So I'm just going to select two, and you can do a side-by-side comparison based on the details that were provided. So you can see, what is the maximum size of the lot, the availability, if there's any details regarding the space. One, in this case, has more details than the other, but it's a great starting point for prospectors to see if it's something that you would want to move forward with. So some of the other features of this site, for those that are interested in marketing research information, you can look at details regarding our community specifically. And as that loads up, this could be in as simple as just looking at what is the makeup of Danville in terms of our population. You may want to look at consumer expenditures, and so you can click on that slide, and it'll show you, based on the information we found online, where our residents are spending money. There may be, even to take it a step further, that you're interested in comparing us to another city. So that feature also exists, that you can compare communities.
So maybe we can pick either San Ramon or Lafayette.
Yeah, so we'll add
because we know they're going to want to come to Danville. So,
and then we'll add San Ramon.
All right.
Hopefully.
Actually, of course, the San Ramon Valley shares a great deal, and we depend upon each other for business and vice versa. So they're always a good partner.
Okay. For some reason, San Ramon's not coming up. Oh, there we go.
There. So Danville's 18 square miles. That little shape that you're seeing is Danville.
So when we add those two in and ask for the comparison report, you can see both on the left-hand side of the screen, there's a lot of different sub areas that you can focus in on.
Why don't you read a few of them, because we can't see them.
Population, you could look at age distribution, labor force statuses, total households, and then on the top banner, you can see, you can get more specific on labor forces, and then, like I said, we can go back to that consumer expenditures.
You might want to know how far your employees are going to have to go to work, how much they're going to have to pay for rent. These are the kind of things that you can use this site for.
Yeah. So as you can see, with consumer expenditures, comparing us to San Ramon, this is what you're seeing. And in addition to the graph, there's also a table breakdown. And then on this left-hand side, you can look at, what the utilities expenditures are, transportation. So there's a lot of things for if somebody's interested in this type of data for them to deep dive into. And I definitely encourage anybody interested to get into it on this site and look at all the data that's available.
One of the other things is always where they're from. So when we talk about demographics, we've seen some big changes in the last 10 years. People coming from different places, the Doherty Valley being built out example, if we were comparing to San Ramon. So that makes a huge difference, what kind of businesses you're going to see, where you're going to find those kind of restaurants, because we all are eating multicultural food all the time right now, and we have a lot of it in Danville too, so it's delicious.
Yeah, and then the last thing I'll just throw out there is that on the real estate portion of it, again, this is all outsourced data, so we do encourage anybody who's interested in signing a lease or getting a property for a business, that they always contact our planning division first to confirm that the use that they're looking to use the space for is an actual allowable use per our zoning for the property. So that is a notification that will pop up, and let me see if I can refresh my screen so that
Yeah, she didn't mean recommend. She mean you need to do this. You cannot come to us later and tell us that you signed a lease and find out that you can't put in an exercise class there.
Right.
Or something along those lines. Or so you need to come down first. That's why these people are here. Everyone you're meeting here is one of our stellar employees that knows in and out these programs, and they'll help you walk through. If it look complicated because there's so much information, Kat can help you with that, or Riley in our development, or Jen, of course.
Or even live at our permit counter. So, this is a great tool for people to kind of do some window shopping and to find out some basic information. It's a research tool to really get the answer. We always have people available. So if you ever want to talk to a live human, you can call or you can come in, and we'll have all the phone numbers that you want at the website after the show.
Oh, excellent, because we're not going to memorize all those. No. But Jen's an expert, too, at getting those websites set up in things that people can remember. You can just put the main words in, it's going to come up, and Kat already showed you how that works so really easily. I don't know if there's some other things you would like to point out that are particular to this program. That they're able to look at. I'm looking at my little schedule that we went through, examples the other day, Kat. There were so many. But we appreciate the fact that you saw how many columns there were. And it's not even just two. You could put in, I want to look at Dublin, Danville, and Lafayette. You're not going to get the same answers. So it's not something that is rote. It's something that has a lot of research behind it. Right. So. And did I tell you it's free? It's like when Robert's always saying it's free parking downtown Danville. So get down there and use those stores. Well, it's also this is for our businesses and for our own development. The other side of it, the Danville Pioneer, as I said, is something people are going to look at. They're looking for a home in Danville. They're looking for schools. They want to know how far they are and other things that they frequent. So they can go to that one easily. Just so DanvillePioneer.org.
Right.
Got the org right.
And we did have an article in the newsletter. So if people receive the print newsletter in their mailboxes in February, we had an article about the Pioneer and the Prospector. So people can get that at danville.ca.gov/planning as well. Or again, we'll have all of the links that we mention here today at danvilletowntalks.org.
Danville Town Talks. Okay.
But the one other thing I wanted to mention, Mayor, is that for the Pioneer and the Prospector, well, the Prospector is meant more for business owners. Anyone can go see it. Anyone can look around. If you're just curious to learn more about your community, if you're new to Danville, or if you just want to see what maybe some of the challenges that local businesses might face, it's a great tool for anybody who just is kind of curious or is kind of a data nerd like I am and just wants to know a little bit more. It is free and available for anybody in the community, as is the Danville Pioneer.
No, I've used that kind of information in writing grants for nonprofits.
Right.
And so, I mean, people are just so involved in our community, and those are the kind of data things and points that they need to succeed.
Right.
So
right.
make sure they go there, too.
Yeah, this fits really nicely in with our new business initiatives to give new tools to our local businesses that have been here for a really long time and maybe want to see how the community has changed, or businesses that are looking to move to Danville. But it really is a tool for the entire community to use.
I'm going to make one more comment about our upcoming events, even though Dave and I looked at it for a moment. It's these strolls that we have in downtown, and I've talked to groups before about how important they are. Not only are they filled, you have to get in early and get your registration either through the chamber or the museum, depending on what it is. But it's a chance to bring your other friends out from other cities to see Danville. They have a great time because now they get to go in all the stores. It's not something where you just stroll down the sidewalk. You go in the stores, you get food, you get free wine, and then you get to see what their wares are and come back and shop some more.
Right.
And so there's a lot of fun places downtown that people don't know are here.
Right. And you hit the nail on the head. These events are fun, and they're for everybody. Some of them are more adult focused, some of them are more family focused, but they really are a way to introduce yourselves maybe and your friends to downtown Danville and other shopping centers, the sip and stroll that is coming up pretty quickly on May 9th. It is happening in downtown Danville and at the livery. And there's a trolley, so you can park at the livery, you can park in downtown Danville, either way, at one of the many large parking lots. You don't have to park along Hearts. We have lots of free parking and free parking lots for you to use, but you can park either place and really get an experience of Danville that you wouldn't get maybe just strolling on your own. It's a very vibrant atmosphere. You'll be there. Say hi to the mayor and several of our council members while you're sipping and strolling.
I will be there with several friends.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Any other comments, Kat, about the program too?
I don't.
Okay, but she's quite an expert. She's the one that's been working and developing, so she's not just coming here to show it today. She knows it inside out. So thank you, Kat, for being here.
And happy to take any questions people have.
Okay, well, actually, I keep forgetting to ask. Are there any questions that we should have right now?
I haven't seen any questions come across, but people can continue to ask questions on any of the topics, even if we've already talked about it. And staff will always, even if you're watching this on a replay, you can make a comment and ask a question, and we'll still be able to answer it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me this morning. Our next topic will be our Chief Alan Shields, and he's still getting his 1/3 time, but it's never enough. So you know what? Because he does the 10-8 show every Wednesday from 5 to 6 on Facebook, you can go watch his show and see all the details with respect to our police department, because we still are one of the safest towns in California. And if you've got questions or concerns, then he's the person to see. So welcome, Chief Shields. We're going to talk about e-bikes and e-scooters, and if people haven't seen them, they need to get downtown a whole lot more.
Yeah, it's I think the biggest thing that we need to tackle is the definitions. What is an e-scooter? What is an e-bike? And frankly, one of the things we're seeing that gets misunderstood is they call them e-bikes, off-highway or motorcycles. And it's simply because they have an electric motor instead of an old two-stroke like a CR125. Because now they have an electric motor, people are calling them e-bikes, and they're not really e-bikes. They're not meant to be on the road at all. And I think that's kind of the struggle.
There's a law against them being on the sidewalks, or on the road, or you're going to get into that, right?
Well, actually, since you mentioned the law, it's kind of funny. It's it's pretty complicated, and if we can throw up this slide real quick, just for a few seconds. This is a matrix that our friends down at Orange County Sheriff's Office made up to show you the different types of classes of e-bikes and motorized scooters and mopeds and motorcycles and off-highway motorcycles and all the laws that pertain to them. Whether or not it's, can you ride it if you're under 16 or over 16? Do you need a license? Do you not need a license? Can you be on the road? And so you can see it can be pretty complicated.
Oh, is that on our site?
What we're going to do is we're going to put a Facebook message out after the show, and we're going to link to not just this matrix, but an entire guide that'll talk about the differences between the different motorcycles and the e-bikes, and then the laws pertaining to each of those. We've been in a pretty long campaign. We started about 6 months ago.
Talk about that.
Trying to work on educating really parents, because we're finding out that you can go into these different stores and you can buy something that you think is, since you can buy it, I must be able to use it anywhere, and that's not always the case.
Having done that yesterday, I walked into a bike store and found out some of that information, just general, how complicated it is and how easy it is unfortunately, for parents to go online, buy something online that actually isn't appropriate for use here or for the age of the I'd say child, because some of them are really young, but students, and whether or not they're applicable for what they should be using. I'm on the liaison with the Vice Mayor, David Fong. We had a meeting with the school district yesterday, and the topic always comes up is how are we starting to get education through the schools helping us, and you had some great slides there, so I'm going to let you go forward with what you see some of the challenges are.
Well, first, it was great. You mentioned earlier about the free parking downtown and make use of it. And the bike shop that you went into was Danville Bike. It's a long-standing bike shop. Jose down there does a good job of educating parents. He's connected in with our mountain bike programs at the high schools.
Oh, good.
So if you don't know, ask someone that is an expert. And so he's someone that you can go down to and ask and engage with him. People can certainly come and talk to us, and we'd be happy to explain the differences.
Yeah.
But what I'd like to do is let's talk about the differences between the bikes, because I think when we think of an e-bike, a certain image comes into people's minds. So if we can just throw the slide up real quick. And this is what an e-bike actually looks like. Okay. Typically it's going to have pedals, and they have 3 classes. Let's not get wrapped up too much in the differences between them, but essentially it is a pedal assist electric bike with a motor. And with those, they cap out at either 20 or 28 miles an hour. And depending on the type, you can ride them in different areas. But all of them have to follow the rules of the road.
Okay.
So if you're in the roadway, you have to ride to the right side of the road. You have to stop at stop signs and stoplights and all those. So if you see an e-bike going down the hill at 20 or 28 miles an hour, and they just go right through a stop sign or stoplight, that's the same thing as a car going through that stoplight or stoplight. It's the same violation. And so we don't want to see that. And when
it hits a pedestrian, and you're the parent that bought this for your child or student, you are going to be responsible. I mean, under these laws, is that correct?
I mean, and not to get too much into the weeds on responsibility, because the child or the rider may be at fault for the accident.
Right,
but
it could be either way. Yes.
But they're the ones that ultimately get hurt.
Yes.
So, and that's what we're trying to do. Is we're not trying to split the hairs of who's right and wrong and who's at fault and not. We're simply trying to enforce the laws that are already on the books to make sure that our kids are safe and that they're not doing things that are inherently hazardous, running stop signs and stoplights, and doing so pretty quick. And really, if you think about it, it's such a small vehicle and a small cross section, it's really hard for people to see. And we do get complaints from motorists. In fact, yesterday, you and I received an email. I sent it over to you. I didn't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it was from a neighbor in town, and very, very compassionate person. And she saw that there were kids that were riding. Some of them were riding 2 up on a scooter, and that's illegal. On a motorized scooter, you're only supposed to ride 1 person at a time. You actually have to have...
Say that one again, because people don't...
Well, let's flash up the picture real quick so we can see what...
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so this is what a motorized scooter is. It's not the little fold-out scooters. These are the ones with motors and a throttle. And if you're riding one of these, or your child is riding one of these, they have to have a license or permit. So that means if we were to go to the middle school right now and look at all of those electric scooters in there, I would have to assume that every kid that rode there is doing so illegally, because somehow they rode on the road and they did so without a license. And if you're under 18, you're supposed to be wearing helmets, and so there's rules to these that I don't think people quite understand. So
I just want to clarify the word throttle again, because I have a Vespa, and I know that when I have a throttle, I can immediately accelerate really fast. And I know comments are worried about people with the speed of some of these. And I know you're not going to go through all the details. I just want to put that as another challenge.
Yeah, the speed really is going to have to do with like what class something is, and it will increase the danger. But to just cover like the high points of the scooters, they're not allowed per the vehicle code. They're not allowed to be on the sidewalks.
Yeah,
they can't carry passengers. It's only 1 rider per. So sometimes you'll see 2 kids on a scooter. Neither of them are wearing a helmet, and they're riding in the road. So you've got an unlicensed rider, you've got 2 people riding, and they're riding on the sidewalk where they're not supposed to be. So
and unfortunately, sometimes the one in the back looks like it's the younger sibling, and that's even...
Usually, yeah. I don't think my older brothers ever let me drive if they were riding with me. So. Yeah, and the other thing is what we see with those scooters is we see just unsafe behavior. So they're being ridden on roads maybe they shouldn't be. They're supposed to be ridden on roads that are rated for 25 miles an hour or less. If they are ridden on a road that's, say, 30 or 35, it can only be done if there's a bike lane, and they have to ride within the bike lane. So it is a challenge with those electric scooters. Now
so when you say bike lane, that's different from the Sharrows that we have on some
That's different from the
streets.
Sharrows. Yeah, it has to be a designated bike lane, not a Sharrows.
Right. Okay, because Sharrows is sharing the road. A lot of people still don't know that's what that word is derived from. So
I have to admit, I actually had to ask my wife what the word meant for share. I didn't know. I was like, I know there's got to be a word for that, but I don't know what it is. And she was like, they're called Sharrows. So
share the road.
Share the road. Yeah.
Okay. And people see them painted on the street, and they don't all know what it means. So I appreciate you clarifying that.
Yeah, and I think one of the more disturbing things that we're seeing, and I think it's cause for a great deal of concern, is the use of essentially motorcycles in the road. Now, I get it, and we're not here to be the fun police. We're not here to try to stop the fun. I rode motorcycles as a kid. They're a blast. They're good fun. They're just not meant for the road, and they're not in any form. They're not legal to be on the road. There are some that you can get licensed for the road. They're called like dual sports, so you can get a license plate for them. You can register them. Those can be street legal, but that isn't what we're seeing. And if we put the picture up real quick, this is what an example of an motorcycle looks like. Essentially, it's a motorcycle with an electric motor. These are designed and oftentimes to go well above 28 miles an hour, and they're really designed for off-highway use. And what we're seeing them being ridden around the streets and the road. And there's not a case where these should be on the road. Like an e-bikes are classified as bicycles property. They're classified as bicycles, so they're to follow all of the rules of the road as if they were a traditional bicycle. The motorcycles, the off-highway motorcycles, the dirt bikes, they're not even allowed to be on the road at all. And that's what we're finding. So the advice that you were given from our bike shop owner is that people are actually buying these. They think they're e-bikes simply because they have an electric motor, but they're not an e-bike.
Sorry, they're not buying them from him because he's not selling them. But
not saying that. I'm saying the advice that he gave you was that parents are going out and buying these. And and I admit they're a lot of fun. When one of my kids was 14, 15 years old, he said, "Dad, I want to trade my mountain bike. I want to get one of these." And I have to admit, I had to look at it because at first I thought, okay, it's electric. What is it exactly? And then I looked at it. I said, well, it fits the definition of a motorcycle. I said, I don't know where you're going to be able to ride this because you can't ride that motorcycle in town. You can't ride it on the streets. You can't ride it in our open spaces, right? Because they're
Iron
not
Horse
allowed.
Trail.
Can't ride it on Iron Horse Trail.
That's important.
So there's special, like when I rode motorcycles, there were special designated places where you would go to ride your dirt bikes. Now, if you have private property, if you're out fortunate enough to have several acres and you set up your dirt track, that's private property. Ride your lights out. I mean, that's going to be a lot of fun. Where it's public roads, it's not lawful to do that. And so that's kind of the struggle is, again, people think you can order this online. You can pick it up at a store. Same with the scooters. So if I can do that, I must be able to ride them in the road, and it's just not the case.
It's not true.
Yeah.
You had that nice article. What was this? Not the last quarterly newsletter, the one before that had a lot of these rules. If people aren't getting through our Live Locally and reading it from page to page, you're missing a lot of things that are important in Danville. So I appreciate that you almost always write on this.
Yeah, that's actually my wife loves that because since we've redesigned it, she actually made the comment to me, and she says she reads it cover to cover, and so I think it's much more useful now. So we really try in the quarterly newsletter to put those things out that are very, very important, knowing that it gets delivered to every house in Danville. So like
a lot of these end up on the front of refrigerators, not the ones that you can't stick the magnet on, but the other ones, because that's why people ask us for the print, because they use it over and over. They keep it in their car, wherever they want to talk to people about it.
Yeah. One of the other things we're doing is we realize there's a gap in education, right? We understand that there are parents or kids that feel that certain things are legal and they're not. And we want to explain why they're not legal, right? It's the safety of the kids. We want to make sure they're not getting hit. The other side is if we have kids on scooters on sidewalks, which is illegal, and they're riding those at 20 miles an hour on the sidewalk, that's really, really hazardous to a couple that are walking down the sidewalk. It's not a safe interaction. And that's a lot of the complaints that we get is those areas where scooters are being combined with people. And I think it's a common thing. If you're riding a scooter or in a car, you feel like your buffer can be very, very narrow, right? Because the risk to you isn't very, very great, right? If you bump into a person, if you're sitting in your car, you're probably not going to get hurt. But if you're the person that's walking, you want a wider gap. And I would ask that people, one, follow the law. If you're on a scooter, don't ride them on the sidewalks. Two, if you're on a bicycle right now in Danville, it is legal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk. Because there's been such a proliferation of e-bikes and bikes, not only riding, but riding in a hazardous condition on our sidewalks in downtown, we're actually looking to draft, and when I say we, I mean our transportation department, are looking to draft an ordinance similar to what you see in a lot of other cities, where it will be prohibited to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk in certain areas, typically like our business district. And right now,
just I add the last weekend when I brought that up, that Orinda and Santa Cruz and Walnut Creek are 3 cities that are right now are looking at those same kind of things for the same reason, for the safety.
Yeah, I know in Walnut Creek, I ride bikes all over the Bay Area, and I know in Walnut Creek there's a section like on Ignacio where it's really not safe to ride your bike, and so they actually put signs up, and they'll say it is legal to ride on the sidewalk for that particular stretch because it's not legal in some of the other areas. So yeah, it is common to see those laws elsewhere in the county and the state,
but not consistently because it's done by city.
Yeah, a good example is the scooters. Scooters, electric scooters on the sidewalk. There is a vehicle code section that says that is not lawful. So that is a blanket law that covers every municipality and county in the state. When it comes to riding bicycles on the sidewalk, the state so far has left it up to individual cities and towns.
Okay, so we've said several times you cannot ride your scooter on the sidewalk. But your kid has a scooter. He's downtown looking for ice cream or whatever after school. Then he can't ride on the sidewalk, he or she. They can ride on the street. That's safe?
Well, the challenge is one, and you're mentioning a son or daughter, a child.
I'm thinking of a high school child, a student, not a child.
Yeah, I'll say on a prevalence basis, we're not seeing 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds riding these scooters.
Okay.
That's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is we're seeing 13, 14, 15-year-olds ride them.
Because the older kids now have got their licenses.
Yeah, they tend to get cars here. Yeah,
yeah, that's what I meant. Okay.
Yeah, so
all right, so we're seeing middle school kids.
But to answer your question, if there is someone that is riding a scooter, or later when we have an ordinance that says you can't ride a bike on the sidewalk, our recommendation is, there's no real obligation that there should be a pathway to get to the front door by the means that you want to travel, right? And so what we recommend, it's not unlike when there's no parking in front of the store. You may take your car and you park in the Lenardi's lot, and then you walk over. And so our recommendation is take the Iron Horse Trail, travel on those roads or trails that it's legal to travel on, and then when you reach that termination point where you can no longer travel because you're now going to go on a sidewalk in the downtown area, just dismount and walk. And you can either lock up your device, your bicycle or your scooter, and leave it at one of the locations where you can lock it, or you can walk it and take it with you. But what you can't do is ride it, and that's where the hazard comes in.
Very clear. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you want to talk more about how you're warning and letting kids know these rules?
Yeah, so we like to say that we have a Danville way of doing things. And the Danville way of doing things, we don't like to do sneak attacks. We don't like to enact something or maybe enforce something that has not seen very much attention and then just start citing and ticketing and towing. And that's just not the Danville way of doing it. So what we do typically is we'll go with a heavy education campaign, and then we'll go with an enforcement that usually tends to lean more towards issuing warnings, and then we'll go to a third phase, which is typically where you start to see citations issued. And unfortunately, in some of these cases, if it's like an off-highway motorcycle, like if we find someone riding a dirt bike, that is a vehicle that's unregistered riding in the roadway, that vehicle can be towed, right? And that's phase 3. If I had my way, if I could do the fairy dust and sprinkle it on the problem and make it go away, it always stops at phase 2. Because phase 2 means we're not issuing citations and we're not towing vehicles. We're not having that impact. We're simply getting the correction of behavior without having to do those means. But the bottom line is, if it means making sure that the public is safe from a traffic safety standpoint, we'll absolutely follow those steps and go through all 3. But one of the things we're going to do is we're going to try to make an attempt to do some yard signs, but we're going to place them in areas like the Iron Horse Trail. We spoke with the school, and we'll put them in the areas of the school so we can pop up. We'll show someone what the yard signs may look like.
They're very bright.
Yeah, and it's just to try to let people know what the big rule. There may be 80 rules surrounding a scooter, but we want to let them know what the most prevalent ones are. For example, you can't ride scooters on the sidewalk, so we've got a couple of acorn. I don't know if they're related to Augie or not, but they're acorns.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know we have a walking acorn around our town. It's kind of our logo, Scott.
And so here is, we see now these two acorns are, you've got two on the left that are riding one per scooter, and then you have, just like you described, you've got the little guy on the back of the scooter with their what looks like an older sister. And then, no young folks on the scooters. You have to have the license. So what our hope is if we put these signs out, parents will see them, they'll get a better understanding, and a lot of kudos to the school. Diablo Vista Middle School did a campaign last year towards the end of the year where they did a video campaign and they talked about the laws surrounding scooters. And in talking to the principal, it seems like when they let the parents know what the rules are, they got a fair amount of compliance. And so without having to do those, phase 3 enforcement things, they were able to get some compliance and get a behavior change, which is
pretty
good.
cool that it's Diablo Vista, because that's where that school has a lot of people that are out there in an area which is a little more rural than the downtown. And so it's nice that they're doing that and being such a great partner for us.
Well, and I think towards that time, again, our transportation department here is phenomenal. They were physically out there with our officers, looking at the environment and seeing what they can do to have an effect. And we were also getting complaints from parents saying, "Hey, I almost hit some kid on a scooter today. This is dangerous." Yeah. And you can't see them. And they're breaking the law because they shouldn't even be riding the scooter where they're riding it, and two, they're not stopping at stop signs and stoplights, and so they're really creating a hazard.
I heard an odd one, too. Sometimes kids, if they're not allowed to bring it to school, then they park somewhere else, and they still we need them to know our laws. So I appreciate the fact that the school district is a great partner here. So
yeah.
And I wanted to mention that we have a bike rodeo coming up on May 11th, and that's going to be this year in Danville. It's going to be at Charlottewood School. And that means that people can register ahead of time if they want to make sure that their student gets into these are younger kids, I guess, that have an actual trail that they can ride around on the concrete and learn better how to ride their bikes safely. So. Yeah,
we'll have some of our motor officers out there. Lindsay Ortiz, our outreach coordinator, who's the producer of the show.
Right here.
She's the one that coordinates that for us, and so she'll make sure that some of our motor officers are out there, and they'll help the kids how to properly fit a helmet, right? A improperly worn helmet is almost as bad as not wearing one at all. We want to make sure it's protecting the head in the way that it's designed to. We also want to make sure that they understand the rules of the road, how to ride safe. So our officers will be out there helping out with that program.
So when they get down there and get their kids registered, they will know more of our police officers, our volunteers in police, or whoever's out there helping, people that they can stop and see in downtown Danville when they have a question. You've always encouraged everyone to know somebody on your force that they can just talk to, and I encourage that too.
Yeah, well, let's hope they know us because, again, Lindsay does a good job of scheduling our recess with the cops. So what we do is we put cops once a week at one of our elementary and middle schools. And the idea is not to do an assembly-style format where we talk to kids, because when I would do that, I would just see a bunch of the tops of heads and not really engaged kids. But this way, we kind of interact and we essentially we play with the kids, but it really creates some good conversations with the kids. And what we found is that they do get to know us a little bit differently than I think they would picture on like the television.
No, it's an awesome. You've had one program after another that encourages communication, and of course, the other one that they're going to be signing up for soon is National Night Out. Always the second Tuesday in August. Some people still don't understand that. We have maybe 40 families hosting that in their street to meet your officers and a few council members. So we're always glad to join you.
Yeah, it's a great program. It is the first Tuesday in August.
August 6th.
The great part about it is it really isn't about the police. Mm-hmm. It's really about the community members themselves. And the win is when you get these new community members that come in. And there was a great picture. I think it was Newell Arnrich and I. We were up at one of the neighborhoods, and there was a resident that was there for 30 years and two residents that had been there for 6 months. And so it's about connecting those people. And we just kind of come to have fun. And I'll be honest, if you want the chief at your place, throw a barbecue pit out there, some food, and I'll make sure I stop by that one. But we do very well in that we get anywhere from 18 to 20 locations, sometimes
we've
multiple
had more.
communities. Well, the communities will cluster together, and some of them are as big as 300 and 400 people. So it's a lot compared to some of the other neighborhoods.
I have to compliment Fountain Springs because Katrina got like 120 people out there last year with the speaker and everything. So when you came up, it was, and now we're going to meet the chief of police of Danville. So.
Yeah, it's great. One of the things that we do say, though, is we're more than happy because we realize that engagement is about meeting people where they're at. Mm-hmm. And so if you've got the 100, 200 person crowd, more than happy to come out. But we've, separate from National Night Out, but we've gone out to homes where it's 6 homes on a court just to discuss some crime safety tips and provide some interaction with our police officers. So we're more than happy to engage where people are.
That's an excellent program because that's the thing that's on people's mind all the time. And you do it again, as I said, on your 10-8 program as well. So we're really glad that you joined us this morning. This is a lot of information and a lot of great information, and the yard signs are going to be beautifully done and read. They're going to be read by people. So thank you all for joining us today. Make sure that you go to the Town Talks and look for all of the different programs that are on there because they are great detail. And if there's one you don't see, ask us when we're getting it. Thank you for joining us.